Very soon, you're going to be able to exchange XRP for Ethereum and everything that runs on their blockchains because they are now about to become interoperable. Right now on the XRP DevNet, we're going to be talking about how developers can now develop smart contracts for Ethereum-based decentralized applications that is going to work with the XRP Ledger. Also, some other big news coming out in the Ripple versus the SEC case. Yet another third party has come forward to file an amicus brief. They sent a letter to the judge basically asking a request to file this amicus brief. This one is clearly in favor of Ripple, and it's a very interesting one. I'm going to tell you about it in this video. Also, we're going to be taking a look at global mainstream adoption of investing in Bitcoin because there is a huge announcement that just came out about one of the world's biggest asset managers and what they are now saying. And not only that, we could be looking at a $3,500 Bitcoin. I'm going to tell you what a 20-year professional trader and professional Bitcoin analyst has to say of what is about to happen. Hey everyone, my name is Randy. Welcome back to the Late Night Grind. Right now on this channel, we're covering the Ripple versus the SEC case, but I'm also covering cryptocurrency news, investment markets, and personal finance. So if any or all these topics interest you, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Join the Late Night Grind community. Also, if you do a couple things, I'd appreciate it. Smash the thumbs up button, watch the video all the way to the end. If you do those things, I greatly appreciate it. All right, guys, let's jump into it. And before I get into all those other things, I wanted to mention another headline that I just came across earlier, which was that Kanye West, known as Ye, has just purchased Parler, the social media platform Parler. And I thought that was a really interesting headline because now you have Elon Musk attempting to finalize a deal for Twitter. You have Kanye West, who's going to own Parler. Some things very interesting are happening in the social media world. I'm definitely going to be keeping track of. All right, now let's get into some crypto news. I wanted to talk about this announcement that just came from BNY Mellon. In fact, it wasn't really necessarily an announcement, but the CEO of BNY Mellon, which has assets under management of $42 trillion globally. Now, basically, they're a global banking giant. They offer banking services. They're a holding company, a custodian services, essentially. Comparing that to BlackRock, which owns essentially everything, they only have about $10 trillion of assets under management. However, it is business ownership, whereas BNY Mellon, of course, like I said, is in the banking sector. Their CEO recently came out and talked about a survey that they did of their clientele, and some of the information is really eye-opening. And what they said is that they're going to be jumping into cryptocurrency custodial services, into the cryptocurrency industry as a whole, in large part due to the demand from their clients. Now, like I said, they have $42 trillion of assets under management. According to this survey, and according to their CEO, about 40% of their clients responded that they already had some sort of cryptocurrency or digital asset in their portfolio. However, they did say about 75% said they were exploring other digital currencies and digital assets. And here's the biggest piece of information that came from that survey. 90% of their clientele that answered this survey said that they plan on buying some sort of tokenized asset, digital currency, cryptocurrency, or any other form of tokenized asset in the next few years. Talk about global adoption. $42 trillion of assets under management. Imagine if just a small, tiny fraction of a percent went into cryptocurrency. That alone would be massive. But now let's talk about what could happen to the price and how a $3,500 Bitcoin could actually happen. Because if you have institutional money like this pouring in, and like Kevin O'Leary said and as I reported in my previous video, you have guys like Kevin O'Leary saying very soon institutional buying power is going to be entering the Bitcoin market as long as some of these regulations pass down in Washington, D.C. So how could it go to $3,500? Well, Gareth Soloway, who is a professional 20-year trader and a professional Bitcoin analyst right now, he's saying that his worst case scenario, his doomsday scenario for Bitcoin, could actually see it drop to about $3,500, and he's talking within the next 12 months. So basically, looking at the factors of the rest of the macroeconomy right now, he feels that there is a lot more downside to come in the stock market, globally, as well as unemployment. Things could get very bleak, and he's not the only one saying this. But what he's saying is that if the Fed continues to raise rates, but unemployment gets even worse, and even worse, this raising of rates doesn't exactly bring inflation numbers back down to where the Fed wants it, they are going to be forced to capitulate. And he thinks this is going to happen in about 12 or so months. So in other words, they're going to stop their quantitative easing and they're going to begin lowering rates and potentially even printing more money. He says the thing to look out for with this is that both gold and Bitcoin would absolutely rip if those two factors came into effect. Rip upwards, that is. However, he did say there could be some very bleak days. He said right now it's about $12,000 to $15,000. There are big resistance levels. There are big support levels, and after that it goes to about $8,000. And if it goes to sub $8,000, he says $3,500. That would be his worst case scenario. So something to keep in mind as we're looking at what Bitcoin could potentially be doing by the rest of this year and into next year. Okay, so now let's take a look at what's going on with XRP, the XRP Ledger, and the latest news that was announced. Now, this isn't exactly brand new news because I remember reporting on this probably 6, maybe 8 months ago, I believe, when XRP Ledger developers were actually first talking about this. They are now announcing that there is a sidechain that can run an EVM, which is an Ethereum virtual machine, which basically means that Ethereum developers can use their Solidity coding to develop smart contracts and decentralized applications to run on the XRP Ledger and have access to, even right now, they would have access to the XRP Ledger DevNet user base and eventually the XRP Ledger user base, which means as soon as things would go live and all the testing seems to be completed, what that means is that XRP and Ethereum and all of the tokens that run on their blockchains would be completely compatible. Now, there's a lot of bullish information in that specifically for XRP. Even though those are the cryptocurrencies that already do that with Ethereum, Ethereum can now do that for the XRP Ledger. And especially for development teams that are developing decentralized applications, this is going to be huge because they no longer have to essentially choose between developing a decentralized application on the XRP for the XRP Ledger or for Ethereum, because now they're going to work together. In fact, one of the articles that I was reading about it said you will be able to exchange cryptocurrencies between MetaMask and the Zoom wallet. There's some of the biggest wallets out there. So no longer would you have to exchange things from MetaMask onto a decentralized exchange, onto the XRP Ledger, or onto your Zoom wallet. You would be able to do it directly from wallet to wallet. And finally, I wanted to talk about the news that I just saw from tweeted out from Crypto Law, which is John Deaton's Twitter account, talking about the Ripple versus the SEC case. And he just saw a couple of things. Number one, Ripple has actually responded to one of the SEC's summary judgments, as well as their Rule 56.1 filing. However, all of those, the filings, the responses, were all filed under seal, which means we're not going to get to see any of them. Maybe a redacted version in a little while, but we're not really going to get to see all the full answers and all the full submissions and responses until probably sometime in December and January. However, the interesting thing that I saw tonight was that there's a third party known as ICANN that submitted a letter to the judge basically asking permission to file an amicus brief. Now, as this is being covered in this case for a while, there have already been several other parties filing amicus briefs into this case. But this is an interesting one because if you look who submitted it, ICANN is actually another legal entity that specifically represents defendants that are basically victims of SEC overreach. Now, they're actually jumping into this case, and clearly this favors Ripple, as you're not going to have a representation like that. File an amicus brief that fights against SEC overreach unless it favors Ripple. So they wrote a letter to the judge, so we're going to get to hear the judge's response to see if they're going to get to file their amicus brief in response. So another very interesting piece of information in support of Ripple. In this case, I highly doubt we're going to see any amicus briefs in support of the SEC. That's going to be it for today's video. I really appreciate you guys watching all the way to the end, for smashing that thumbs up button, and as always, I'll see you guys on the next video.